So let's move to the next question. We talked a little bit about this question. We talked about centralized versus decentralized production. We see the emergence of the so-called gigafactories from actors like Tesla, but they created the marketing around the factory, but they are not the only one. There are many others, and we talk about that mostly for batteries. But do you think that this centralized production is the right direction? So maybe Emmerich, again, you started to talk about that.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, it's kind of interesting because they're centralized, but they're also regional, right? So they have one in Reno, you have one in Berlin, one in China and Shanghai. So you have certainly one of the things with Tesla is that they're a company that's been trying to do a lot of kind of vertical integration, right? Obviously, they work on batteries. There are a lot of other kind of subcomponents that do their own software. So in general, they have a tendency to try to control as much of their supply chain as they can, even like doing a lot of things themselves, in some cases with partners, but still on their own location. So it's certainly a kind of interesting approach and can save time. It's a challenge, right? Not everyone could do that. It's kind of a greenfield, opportunity because they're kind of a newcomer to the space. And I think they realize the challenge of like with the factory they had, say in Fremont, for instance, which was an old kind of GM Toyota factory from a joint venture. They realized kind of the limitations also of the layout of that, and kind of like taking over someone's antiquated factory is a real challenge when you're trying to do things differently. And on a decentralized side, you can point to companies like Airbus, who and some U.S. defense contractors are kind of the same way, where those companies historically have taken a decentralized approach, almost for different reasons, right? In some cases because it's a pan-European contract, and they're trying to spread things out amongst a lot of different locations to keep the politicians happy. Same thing in the U.S., right? Some defense contractors have facilities in some key states, which are often linked to congressmen and women from those states who kind of argue on behalf of the lobby on behalf of a certain extent on the behalf of the defense contractor. But it also lends itself to kind of certain specialties in regional areas and some inefficiency. So it's going to be a mix. I think we'll still see that, but certainly you're going to see folks trying to have less of a dependence on certain key countries that historically have dominated manufacturing and components.
Yeah, you mentioned, maybe I can follow up on something you just said. You mentioned the vertical integration of Tesla. So do we need to be vertically integrated to be able to have a decentralized production? Or can we imagine a model which would be decentralized and not vertically integrated with some kind of contract manufacturers?
Yeah, I mean, there's no right answer on that front, right? I mean, and since you're talking about automotives, John, of course, should chime in because even like Apple, a company which develops a ton of its own technologies, right, in terms of their own multiple chips across the product line, their own connector technologies, their own subcomponents, they still rely on partners for some elements and contract manufacturing.
Yeah, John, what do you think about that? Your office is so close to the gigafactory in Fremont.
Yeah. So I think in terms of centralized, decentralized, and vertical integration, I think there's a factor in the relative maturity of the product that is being produced. So in terms of electric vehicles, I do think that Tesla saw that they needed to take upon themselves the design and production of many of their components. My belief is that as the electric vehicle industry matures, i.e. gets to be a significant portion of the total volume of all cars produced, I think we'll see a sort of spreading out, if you will, into other suppliers, the maturing, if you will, of that technology, the production thereof, the know-how to do that, and so on. So I think the Gigafactory, going back to decentralized versus centralized, I think that is a kind of a marketing label, if you will. It refers to, my understanding, the amount of power capacity, energy capacity, storage capacity that they are producing, right? So gigawatts of energy storage capacity. I still think of it, despite this name, is actually a form of decentralized manufacturing because they are now quite regional. It began perhaps in the